Hurricane Maria is one of the strongest hurricanes ever to hit Puerto Rico. The storm hit the U.S. territory this morning as a Category 4 hurricane. WeatherBELL Analytics Chief Meteorologist Joe Bastardi joins us now with an update on Maria. Welcome, Joe.
Well, nice to be here.
Tell us, what is the latest? Where does this storm stand now?
Well, this is the strongest storm to have hit Puerto Rico that I've ever seen. Looking at, for instance, Harvey was not the strongest storm to hit where it hit in Texas. There have been several hurricanes stronger, and the Florida Keys hit directly by Irma first, 1935, and Hurricane Donna back in 1960 were stronger than that. But this looks like the worst storm I've ever seen to hit Puerto Rico. It directly bisected the territory, came in from the southeast side, is leaving on the northwest side this afternoon. The future track will be a bit north of Hispaniola, but I do think that the island of Hispaniola will influence the storm in that it will prevent it from ramping back up to a 4 or 5 very quickly because it will draw dry air in off that. The path relative to the Turks and Caicos Islands, which were absolutely devastated by Irma, it will not be a direct hit on them. The path will be a bit to the north, which means they will have hurricane conditions, but not as bad as what they had with Irma. After that, well, Jose could save the day for the United States. Jose is a tropical storm. It's weakening off New England. And if Jose was not there, the big high-pressure system that's leading to the fine summer-like weather across much of the United States, with the exception of New England, that would get out over the Atlantic and block this thing and turn it back toward the northwest. As it is, residents of the Carolinas and Virginia Beach on up toward New Jersey in about a week may have to deal with Maria. And here's how this happens. Jose, being where Jose is, starts influencing Maria, and Maria will turn to the north, out over the Atlantic. Jose will then weaken, and that ridge I'm talking about could build back over top of the storm early next week, over top of Maria, and try to send Maria more toward the northwest, more toward the Carolinas and Virginia. This will be a very long, protracted forecast problem, and it's one that we're going to watch very, very closely. But certainly it can provide some anxious moments for people on the eastern seaboard. Not for Florida. Florida's out of the woods.
Okay. So kind of break it down for us. As far as other populations, who is at risk of being hit by Maria?
Well, directly, like I said before, it goes north of Hispaniola into the east and north of the Turks and Caicos, I should say. And then I expect it to be about 100 miles or so southeast of Cape Hatteras in about a week. And then we'll see whether it wants to get onshore or not. That's a difficult forecast. These storms, if they try to come in slow, they generally don't make it all the way to land. You saw what happened with Jose, and the cooler water starts decaying the storm, and the storm is weakening now. It's when they sit between Hatteras and the Bahamas and then all of a sudden get picked up and start moving very, very quickly, you have to worry about it. But again, the forecast headache, it's very interesting, Mark, and you see this happen in the Pacific all the time. It's called the Fujiwara effect, named after a Japanese scientist back in the 1921 who noticed that typhoons would dance around each other. We're seeing a similar effect in the Atlantic. Hopefully that dance stays offshore.
Okay. So what is on the horizon next? Any more named storms that we need to be concerned about?
Yeah, the pattern this year, and it's something that, again, I know this sounds pompous. I don't mean to push the issue, but the WeatherBELL preseason forecast said this is going to be a big impact year. The end game may be shaping up in the Western Caribbean between October 1st and 10th, something developing there and trying to come up toward the southeast part of the United States. I think Texas is out of the woods as far as the hurricane season goes. It's very, very difficult for Texas to get hit during the month of October. But as you know, that area in the Western Caribbean, especially in this kind of pattern, is something to watch. And it doesn't necessarily have to come all the way across the Atlantic. You can get home brew, what we call home brew, where it just develops in place over there, given the overall pattern. And the kind of pattern we're in this year was conducive for the tropical cyclones you're seeing.
Any advice for people seeing this, Joe, that might be in the path of Maria or any future storms?
Well, I would not take anything seriously until if you have me on, I say this is going to hit you. I take it seriously then. But for right now, it's a lot of speculation and a lot of just trying to educate the public as to what's going on, so they don't think there's some magic entity up in the sky that's just bestowed all this upon people. You can see this season coming as plain as the nose on my face, and I think you can all see that nose.
All right. So are you amazed by the ferocity of Maria?
Absolutely not. This is what happens in the atmosphere. When you look at what storms can do, when you look back at what's happened, I mean, you look at Hugo was a Category 5, much quicker than Maria was. But the rapid feedback intensification is something that we've all seen before. The problem you have today, folks, is the general public is unaware of what happened before. I used the 1935 hurricane in the Florida Keys, went from a tropical storm to the strongest hurricane on record in the Western Hemisphere to hit land in the Florida Keys back in 35. Did it in 36 hours. So no, when you look at the majesty of the atmosphere, nothing should surprise you. Let me ask you this question, Mark. Okay, I'm the journalist now.
Okay.
If two major hurricanes hit New England within 11 days, would that surprise you? Probably
not, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Two major hurricanes hitting up near Providence, Rhode Island in 11 days. I mean, do you know if that's ever happened before? It's a trick question. It has happened.
Wow.
And when I look at that, now, Providence, Rhode Island is not San Juan, Puerto Rico, folks. Right? The water temperature up at Providence is 70 degrees. They don't get a lot of hurricanes up there. But how about two majors? Or how about the Carolinas? Connie and Diane within 7 days of each other. Or how about 1933? A major hurricane hitting in South Texas and another one hitting near Virginia Beach within 23 hours of each other. So when you look at the majesty of the atmosphere and this creation we live in, shouldn't surprise you at all as long as you know what happened before.
Okay. Joe Bastardi of WeatherBELL, thanks so much for your time today, sir.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.